All right. Way to start the show with some shredding from my first guest, Michael Angelo Batio. We're going to pop him up in a second here. It's the 50th episode of that Jamieson show. Yes, I'm broadcasting from home today, but nothing stops the show, especially for our 50th. And later in the show, Michael Starr from Steel Panther will pop on for a few minutes with us. And our buddy, Joe Curry, rock and roll comedian, my buddy who's been on the show many times. He and I are going to get metaled up and break down the metal news stories, all that you need to know in the world of rock. So stay tuned for all that good stuff. But this first guy, man, he's known for his laser fast fret work. He was named Guitar World of 100 Best Heavy Metal Guitar Players. He's the ambidextrous one, and he's got a new album out. Yes, that's right. He could play guitar with both hands. His new album is called More Machine Than Man, out now, or I think now on Rat Pack Records. It's not out now. It's out soon. He'll tell us all about it. Michael Angelo Batio. Hello, sir.
Hey, Don. How are you?
Yeah, it's been a while. Great to see you, man.
Yeah, it was on the Monsters of Rock cruise, I think. That's one of the last times we were hanging out.
Yeah, I have a great picture. I think it's you, me, and Doro Pesh together.
That's right. Yes.
Those cruises are always. Do you have a good time on those?
I'm sorry?
You have a good time on those cruises?
Yeah, I love them. I wish I could go on another one right now. I'm sure we all do. So.
Yeah, because I think most of the people that they book on the cruise sort of get the vibe of it, which is, you're mingling with your fans pretty much, the whole cruise. And some people like that, some people don't. I understand it. You're sort of a mad scientist guitar player. So I didn't know, but you're always, you're always very pleasant and social with people. So I figured that was a good gig for you.
I was hanging out with George a lot too. So I think we nuked brain cells on that cruise. It was fun.
Yeah. We get to be like 16 again and go to the prom and listen to great tunes, right?
Drinking, but no driving. So it was really fun. I have one funny thing. I had seen Nuno Betancourt. I'm not meaning to drop names, just buddies. And we're standing talking like in one of the main areas. And all these people see that we're talking. They start crowding around. And then the ship, it started to sway. And here's Nuno and I talking like this. And everybody, it was pretty weird. I've been on ships before, but I was only actually on one other cruise. It was in Russia. But I'd never been turbulence where we're sitting there talking, and the next thing I know, I'm looking at them kind of sideways. It was wild.
Yeah, it really is a great time. When they say the ship is going to get rocking, it really does. And you've been up to some rocking yourself. It's obviously a very weird time for musicians. There won't be any touring until next year, and then the choice. Do you put an album out during this whole pandemic? Do you not? For me, obviously, I find a lot of comfort in the musicians and the bands that are releasing music now. So I think there is a great upside to it. Your album, More Machine Than Man, I've listened to it a couple times through, and I got to tell you, man, I always get nervous when I put on a guitar instrumental album because they're so tricky, right? It's so tricky to get the right sort of progression of songs and to have all the right flavors and colors of music, but yet have it be cohesive. And you've done that with this album, man. I'm really, really digging it. Talk about the making of the album.
Well, it started off with me, Adler, and Victor Wooten. And so if anybody, Chris Isle, obviously Lamb of God, he won the Grammy in Megadeth for the last album. And then what we did was we had a guy named Josh Wilbur who produced that Megadeth album. He did all the Lamb of God stuff. He produced a couple songs for us. And Chris is amazing. So we were super together. And Victor, but what happened was Chris got into a really bad accident, kind of delayed things. And then in the meantime, my mother passed away. I mean, who could come up with this stuff? And so everything got delayed. And by the time we came back to doing it, next thing you know, Victor's on tour. It changed the dynamic. So Chris got to play on a bunch of songs, but not the whole record. But I really wanted to make it, like you said, it's tough with instrumentals because are you going to sing like Deep Rainbow in the Dark? You know, are you a death metal singer? Ooh. So how do you do that on guitar? And so, you know, but what I did do is I made this song short because I figure if I played the melody once or twice on the verses, that's enough. You know, normally like people would do it 3 times if you're singing it usually. But I just tried to do the best, make it heavy, and then Josh Wilbur, the producer, he was the one who won the Grammy with Megadeth too. He did some really cool arranging of my songs. And I gotta say, it's not just me, but it was a collaborative effort of some really good people.
Yeah. I mean, because I got to imagine, Michael, that, again, especially this is true with any music that's still put out, obviously, on a CD format or an LP format, is the sequence of the tracks is so important, right?
Yes. Yeah. You know, I kind of made labels. I was on Warner Brothers twice, 2 different bands, and I had my own record company. And you hit something right on the head. We would write 30 songs. What the band would think, they're a hit. The label goes, are you out of your mind? This doesn't even sound like you. And so we had to have musical cohesion. They tried to keep it stylistically the same from track to track. And I find that, you know, kind of like if you think of AC/DC, I doubt if we're going to do a jazz fusion song on one other albums. Call me crazy, you know, but I can't picture Alan Holdsworth or some fusion, Al Di Meola as a guest star. And, you know, even Yngwie maybe. It's so stylistically different. So that's what I tried to do on More Machine Than Man, and I do it on all my solo albums. You try to keep it, not every song can sound the same, but there's a stylistic continuity that goes from start. And the song order, I try, you know, you want to start kind of high, and then you dip it down a little bit, and then you end really strong. And I'm just fine, though. I found over the years, the artist never knows what the best songs are. The audience does, you know. I mean, look at Mark Tremonti from Creed. Can you take me higher? That was one of the songs at the end of the album. I'm sure they didn't think that was it. You know, you never know. You know,
yeah, Sabbath just needed one more quick song to put on the album to fill the last 3 minutes, and they wrote Paranoid in 5 minutes, and it's, you know, it's their signature song. So,
exactly.
And
more than it's like the last song on the record, you know, it's like, let's throw this one on, you know, somebody liked it. But that's what I mean. The artist never knows. You know, what I think is going to be a big video or something, sometimes it's not ones that I don't think are going to do anything, take off. I wish I had the formula for it, but I don't know, you know. But that's a really good question, because every artist, anything, burns themselves with that continuity. You know, I mean, unless you want to do one song rock, next song fusion, hip hop. If you're going for that, then that's different. But I think, you know, I can't picture Eminem doing a Bon Jovi cover. Call me crazy, you know what I mean? Or coming out with big hair, you know. It's just the stylistic part of it that you really have to keep in mind.
Right. No. And again, it's, you know, you're known as a shredder, but obviously, you know, your playing can be much more nuanced than that. So you want the album to feature that, but you also don't want to bore people to death with it. So you need to have different levels and you know, all the nuances that make an album great. You don't want it to be repetitive. And again, especially with an instrumental album, you know, I always find when I listen to a great one, you know, and again, you know, I think you really accomplished that with this one, is while I'm listening to it, I'm not even thinking like, oh, I'm missing the vocal right here. It's just, you know, it's just a well-written song. That's all.
Thanks. Yeah. You know, it's kind of, you know, I always ask myself, you know, for example, how can you emulate Ozzy playing a guitar? You know, how do you emulate, you know, any great singer? You really can't. You just find an instrumental voice. You know, Satriani's great at that. Steve Vai. You know that, and because I some of the songs on the album, I actually you could hear as a death metal, like, whoa. But how am I going to do that on guitar? You go, so, it's just, but I tried to really make it interesting, make the rhythms cool. And I also tried to do something else on this. I kept thinking of Black Sabbath 13, because if you listen to Ozzy's later solo albums, he uses every effect known to man. I mean, he flanges, phases, choruses, it delays, it reverbs. There's so much on his voice. And Rick Rubin said, what's Black Sabbath? Guitars, bass, drums, vocals as a band. And so I tried to do that on this album. It's not overproduced in the sense of million layer guitars. And I'm a keyboard player too, but I played on all my keys on this, but I wanted it in raw and in your face. And I kind of thought of Black Sabbath 13, just put it out there, hear Adler's drums really nice and loud. You can hear the bass good, the rhythm guitars, and the lead is right over the top.
Yeah. Well, obviously it helps by having, it's like at the end of the day, like you said, you don't know what song is the best. You don't know which track people are going to respond to the most. But a good start is having a band with Victor Wooten and Chris Adler in it. So it's hard to go wrong there. But, I always wanted to ask an instrumental musician this. How do you name these freaking songs? There's no chorus, there's no lyrics. How do you come up with a name?
You're right. I was goofing around one time, like doing a show, and I was thinking of vocal things. And this is how I'll get back to the instrumental. I was thinking of a vegan death metal album called Broccoli. Broccoli, cauliflower. And I thought, well, how do you do even death metal sounds on a guitar? You can't do it. So what I do is sometimes, like there was a thing in music called a tone poem in the 1800s where composers depict a forest dream and like The Hobbit or something, but they tried to do that in music. So every once in a while I'll have a song where I said this is a tone poem, but realistically all the other songs I write them first and then I kind of listen to it and I think, okay, what's the theme of the record? Because when we talked it over with the label and they said more machine than man, so I tried to use titles that fit kind of more of a format like that. And then when he was mixing the record, he said, he goes, man, you sound like Jeff Beck on this one song. He goes, it's like if Jeff Beck could shred. And so I named it 21st Century Beck. So I kind of name them after I write them. That's a really good question. It's very rare I have a title on an instrumental song before it's completely pretty much finished. I'll literally just title them track 1, 2, 3. Oh yeah, track 1. And then I'll go back and name it.
Right. Well, yeah, of course. I mean, you would have to because you don't have the let's say the main line of the chorus to go, okay, it's called this. But yeah, it's funny. I mean, sometimes I listen to an instrumental song and I go, okay, like Summer Song by Satriani. I go, yeah, that does feel like a summer song to me. But then, if it's, you name your song Dirty Socks for Breakfast, I'm like, where did that name come from? It's I'm not making the connection. And there's probably everyone's method to their madness is different in terms of naming their instrumental songs. But, the theme to your album, and it's in the title, which I love, More Machine Than Man, because, you really are in so many ways more machine than man. And to the guys in the control room, if you could play the video from the top of the format, because I want to show people you in action working both frets at the same time as the guitar machine that you are. So if these guys could call it up, that would be great. No, the one from the top of the show, guys. The one out of the intro. And I want to ask you about the video too, because you're in a desert, all like rock starred out. But let's hold our thought on that one. Do we have the other clip of Michael from the top
right now?
It's from it's at the top of the format there. Well, in the meantime, I will ask you about the video clip that we saw earlier, right before I brought you on. Where was that? What desert were you in?
I was actually about 100 miles, kind of northeast of LA. I went out there this year. I had a big USA tour, and I was supposed to be on the road again in May, but obviously, I had to cancel. But from the beginning of this year, I was in Los Angeles, and the NAMM show, the big music show, was 4 days. So I played the NAMM show. I was there a week before, about 2 weeks after. Then I hit the road. But the video engineer and the producer, his first name is Max. He goes, "Man, I got this awesome location." It was like, I can't remember the mineral, like an abandoned cobalt mine from like 100 and some years ago. And I mean, there were places like if you didn't watch your step, you fell down into a mine shaft like 50, 60 feet. So, and then we had like a drone with a really high-end camera. So we were able to, me walking through the desert and using the drone. And it actually, being that it was January, it wasn't super warm out there. When it started getting darker, it was cold. But that's what we did. And the song, The Badlands, I've been in the Montana Badlands many times. And it's like, I mean, that's where they found Sue, the T-Rex that's in Chicago. It's like Dinosaur Central. So we couldn't go to the Badlands in Montana in January. It's like you're going to get 50 below zero. So we kind of tried to depict it in California.
Yeah.
The had a great location for it. It was cool.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that you said it was in January because I was sweating just watching the video. But so we have the video ready. We're going to show you in action. Yeah, I love that, man. That is so cool. That everyone's got to have a hook, man. And you play well enough with one hand, but to play with both hands, that's that's really amazing.
This part has one side. I'm playing two different things at the same time on this.
Yeah, I know. It's incredible, man. Hey, give me some of your favorite instrumental guitar albums.
Well, I like even Steve Vai's Flexible, his very first solo album, and obviously Surfing with the Alien. I like people like Eric Johnson, and then I like a new the one with Cliffs of Dover on music Viacom. But I do have the music. I have the CD, and then it's it's on my phone. But I also like a lot of new guitar players that are coming out too, because they're just ferocious and, keeps me on my toes. It's like, okay, you can do that. All right. And I'm going to be hopefully, like you were saying at the beginning of my segment there, that, we don't know if we're going to even be back on tour this year. I'm supposed to go out in August. We don't know. But if I'm able to, and then I've got a Europe tour at starting November 10th. Through the 18th of December of this year. We don't know. But I've got a brand new where I even take it farther than that one that you just posted, which I'm really happy with that one. But that will be like a second double solo. But it'll be really fun to do the new one too. Similar format this way, all the crazy things, but just different music. And on the new one, but I enjoy playing the double. It's something that I do live, but it's really fun to play. And Steve Vai did a version of it, Jack Black, Pick of Destiny. They both gave me credit for doing it. In fact, Steve Vai did a really big interview. I don't remember where, but he had credited me with the double, saying, he can't do what I can do on it, and he got the idea from me. So I was inspiration for Steve Vai on it. Not too bad.
Well, it's funny you brought that up, because I was going to ask you, have you gotten any tips or just any kind of advice from other instrumental guitar players? I mean, this is great. I mean, you obviously influenced Steve Vai in a way.
Well, I'll refer back to the rock cruise because he was on that cruise. And so, yeah, we were talking, and he said, yeah, come on to the sound check. So, I was hanging out with him at the sound check, and I know him pretty well. I mean, I wouldn't be lying if I'm saying, we're best friends, but we're friendly, since he was in David Lee Roth. And so, but, he just gives me a lot of compliments. And I find, I'm sure you see this too, with your peers. It's like, I talked to Zach Wilde once about the song Freight Train, the solo, and he's like, dude, how do you do that, man? So it's sometimes we get a chance to talk about music, but as far as, the advice, the best things I got were not from other guitar players, but from producers, drummers, like, for example, Adler, Chris, it's like, he'll either, I like it or, and then, same thing, like, for example, the song More Machine Than Man, Josh Wilbur, the producer, he's listening to it and he goes, can you play this faster? I actually had the tempo of the song slower. And he's like, and all of a sudden he's like, okay. And he's sitting there bopping. He's doing the bop. And that's what he calls it, the bop. And he's like, he goes, can you do that? I go, yeah. He goes, okay. He goes, Chris. So we're playing like it's frantic pace, but the producer actually sped it up, and not sped up our parts, sped up the initial track that we played to. So we had to go back, play it for real, super fast. And I enjoyed that. But I can take criticism. I have a motto for myself, always a student. If I think I'm so good or so smart, I can't learn something new, I'm gone. I
of course, that's a good life motto as well, Michael. You also, I mean, a testament to your playing was the fact that I believe you actually were asked to audition for Kiss at one point.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I actually did. And right out of college, I was a Midwestern kid. Like, I really look like I should go in the insurance business. I mean, I was, school, I looked like a college kid, and they flew me to LA, but I could play like, ferociously. And we sang, I was a pretty good singer. And so I had to audition singing Dr. Love. And we were at SIR Studios at Sunset and Gower in GOWER in Hollywood. And so I went into the bathroom and I'm looking in the mirror. I'm going, if Wayne's World would have been out at that, I'm not worried. I was freaking. And we go in and they were very gracious. They saw I didn't even look like a rocker. I mean, I just was, I was a Midwestern guy. I hadn't experienced LA yet, and so we start playing and I'm like, they call me Dr. Love. And Gene Simmons stops. He's like, stop. And it's Gene Simmons here, Paul Stanley, me in the center. And he goes, what are you singing? I go, well, because, I didn't go out, there's no internet to go online to lyrics. And I said, well, this is what I was singing. He starts laughing. He goes, those aren't the words. I go, it sounded like it. And he goes, and then we start playing, and we start playing Sunshine of Your Love. And it was he starts playing it in E. I know it in D. And then I heard pop from that stage. He's like, I'm with you, my love. And then there's a part like that goes, I've been waiting so long. And then Paul Stanley, to be where he comes in with the harmony. I'm like, yeah, this is the big leagues. It was power. And then I start playing. I start doing, I start doing it. And then I broke into this. And I started playing over and under the neck. And Gene stopped. He's like, what is this? And I go, Gene, it's kind of like this. And I start acting like a guitar teacher. He kind of like, that's my world, teaching guitar, college kid. And so I showed him and he's like, interesting. And I was like, whoa. And then if you pick it up in the early Kiss videos without makeup, you see Gene playing over the neck. But I did get the job, obviously. But I tell you what I did learn, Don. I learned about fanboyism or fangirl, where you go up to somebody and you see it, like, oh my God, oh God, oh, I love you, man. And then immediately it kind of separates the artist to, okay, this is a fan, where like I've never met Paul McCartney. I pretty much met everyone else I want to meet as far as my idols. But if I met McCartney, the last thing in the world I would go is, "Oh my God, I love you, man." You know, I'd be like,
Yeah.
you know, how was breakfast at the hotel or something? You know, you just come up with some normal line. I'm still friends with Gene Simmons. And over the years, she's really helped me out and, you know, he's a guy that's given me advice a lot over the years about how, you know, getting signed in Los Angeles. And because he's seen me from the ground up and he really thought my guitar playing's great. And, you know, once I together and all that, you know, because he was really obviously being a Kiss, he was into the image too, and I had only image of I'm going to school. Let's see, after the Kiss jam class, it was so out there.
Well, I'm lucky to know you personally for years. We've actually played on the same bill together, which is obviously always a treat for me because I get to watch you play, and I love to watch you play, but I'm also your fan, and I love the new album, More Machine Than Man, out on Rat Pack Records. And Michael, man, I can't thank you enough. And obviously, I will see you out on the road when the road comes back again.
That's right. Thanks for having me, Don. It's great to see you again, too.
You got it, man. Stay safe out there.
Okay, you too. Bye.
Be well. All right, there he is.